So usually I'm very positive with my gaming reviews. If you've been around the channel or you've been a supporter of your boy for a while, then you know for a fact most of my gaming reviews are positive unless a game really gets under my skin, or in this situation a game I'm really highly anticipated and was excited for just turns out to be an absolute snooze fest or just boring or just a complete letdown. And that brings me to the Outer Worlds 2. Now, I was contemplating on doing this video because I don't like really getting in on hate trains. And when it comes to Microsoft and Xbox, it's like negativity sells when it comes to them. And you know, it seems like no matter what I do, I'm always gonna get labeled, right? So if I be critiqueful of a PlayStation game, you know, they're gonna say I'm an Xbox D-writer. You know, if I be critical of an Xbox game, they're gonna say, hey, you're a traitor, you switched up on PlayStation. All while you switched up on Xbox, all while not, you know, acknowledging all the good I do for trying to represent the brand. Arguably do more good for them than they do for themselves as far as playing their game, showing it off. But whatever. If I say the wrong thing about a Switch game, I'm gonna, you know, get called haters for that too. Now, if you don't believe I'm mostly positive in my reviews, just go watch the review I dropped before this, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. That game is very controversial. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people critique it and say it's one of the worst Metro games, period. Me, on the other hand, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a great game, even with its few flaws, which I pointed out in the review. So with that being said, go check out that review. If you like what you hear today, non-sponsored reviews, just honesty from a gamer who don't give a fuck about backlash for the most part, then this is your place. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's get into it. Man, The Outer Worlds 2 was by far my biggest disappointment of 2025. To me, that game is just ass. There's no way around it. It's mid, it's boring, it's frustratingly non-innovative. And to give some clarity, I really enjoyed my time with The Outer Worlds 1. I didn't go into The Outer Worlds 1 looking for a Fallout experience or looking for a AAA experience. I'm familiar with Obsidian. I like their work. I have liked their work since New Vegas. So I'm always down to support them. So, you know, the reason I'm making this video is because I put the game down after about 20 plus hours last year, and I just couldn't force myself to it. I don't like forcing myself to play games. But today, February 2nd, or February 3rd, I should say, rather, we got some news today saying that, from an interview saying that Obsidian views Avowed and Outer Worlds 2 as a failure in terms of sales. They did not reach the sales goal and stuff like that. Now, before I get into talking about why I think the game flopped and why it should have failed, a lot of this kind of falls back on Microsoft and how they market their games. You know, when you push for Game Pass, what are you holding these game devs and studios to as far as game sales? How do you want them to sell games and then also not expect Game Pass and PC Game Pass to somewhat cannibalize themselves? I'm not saying that's the case for every game, but for this game, I think most people was definitely willing to try it on Game Pass. They didn't like it and they moved on. Now, for me specifically, I have used Game Pass as an option to test and try plenty of games that I have purchased. Most recently being something like Ninja Gaiden 4. I wanted to try that before I buy it. I tried it in Game Pass. I beat it in Game Pass. I loved it. And now I plan to pick it up from my PS5 Pro. I played and finished Doom, The Dark Ages in Game Pass, and it made me go buy the game the moment I seen it on a good physical sale for my PlayStation. So in some cases, Game Pass can cannibalize sales, but in other cases, like, you know, Claire Expedition or Silk Song, it has no effect. The game will be played a lot in Game Pass and also bought by a lot of people who may want to own their game. I say all that to say that from the very jump, Outer Worlds 2 had the odds against them. Now, last year, Microsoft announced that they was planning to increase some of their games to the $80 price tag, you know, following suit from Nintendo. Only difference is you guys don't have a Mario Kart World, in my opinion. As much as I love Forza and Forza Horizon, it'll never reach the sale numbers that, you know, a Mario will. You know, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is one of the best selling games of all time, up there with Red Dead Redemption 2, which is, you know, extremely incredible. So when you go to pricing your games at $80, right, to me that's a huge red flag, because the first Outer Worlds wasn't worth $60. To me, that's a game worth buying for $30, $40. So for the sequel to come out, and you guys mentioned an $80 price tag, that you end up walking back is mind-boggling. My thing is, if you thought it was worth $80, No matter how much I disagree as a consumer, stand 10 toes if you believe in your product. Nintendo believed in their product. They didn't back down from the $80 Mario Kart World. It's still $80 to this day. Sold 14 million units, right? Now, Outer Worlds 2 being $80 had me like, I'm gonna just be honest, they had me fucked up. I said $80 for what? $70 for this game is a stretch from everything I was seeing. And I was enjoying some of what I was seeing leading up to it. So one of my biggest complaints with Outer Worlds 1 was, when you travel, you pretty much got to stick to the main roads. You can't really go off the beaten path too much. I mean, you can take shortcuts across fields and stuff like that, but it's mostly recommended you keep to the main path. And when I did try to take shortcuts in Outer Worlds 1, I ran into rocks I couldn't climb, weird geometry in the world. You could just tell it was never meant to be one of those games where you go elsewhere besides the main path that take you to A to B. So, seeing Outer Worlds 2 being backed up by Microsoft, having a bigger budget, seemingly wanting to push for that $80 price tag, you best believe my expectations and standards was extremely high. I ran into the same problems I had with Outer Worlds 1 and 2. You can't take the beaten path. The amount of times I tried to take a shortcut in this game, fell off the side of a ledge or a mountain and just couldn't climb back up was absolutely idiotic. The fact that Avowed had some of the best water and best graphics in a game last year, to me, and then you turn around and drop Outer Worlds 2 and you can't even go in the water. They don't even give you a proper drowning animation in this game. As soon as you touch the water, you sink to the bottom of the water like a fucking anchor. And, shout out to one of the homies in Discord. They was like, well, that's because it's space water, man. Space water got different effects. And I absolutely lost my mind because I found that extremely funny and hilarious. And I'm a guy that can role play, so I can kind of, let that slide, right? My second complaint about the game, besides the poor world design that did not evolve from the first game, was the companions. The companions are completely fucking forgettable. From the AI robot to the cliche black guy who got half his fucking face blew off, to the dumb shorty with one arm, and it's just like, yo, what the fuck are we doing here, yo? Like, I didn't think the companions in Avowed was perfect, but at least they had my boy Garrus voice acting in there. At least they had some quirky, furry, sexually active, like, little side chick that's funny as hell. You can't do anything with her in Avowed, but just the fact that she has that personality was dope and unique. This game companions are a fucking snooze fest. Like, it's legit garbage in my opinion. Like, pure garbage, respectfully. It's just not good, man. It's just not good. I didn't care for any of them. So when you off rip got me not comparing for none of your companions, it makes me go like, yo, what are we doing here? Okay, so let's get to the writing. The writing, in my opinion, is ass. Now, the writing is good from your perspective as far as the witty responses you can give to characters and dialogue and stuff. You can reply with some very funny shit, but that's from your end. The dialogue from all the NPCs and characters that's talking to you, whether it's quest givers or main story people, are bare bones and quite frankly ass. The quests and storylines in this game are boring. I find it funny how everybody wants to give Starfield so much hate, right? But this game is doing the same thing on a way smaller scale, especially with loading screens. You fly to a planet, loading screen. You get off your ship, loading screen. You walk to the location you're supposed to enter, you enter that door, loading screen. Why the fuck are we still dealing with this shit in 2026? I understand Starfield, and I'm not trying to make excuses for Starfield, but let's keep the same energy, everyone. Let's keep the same fucking energy. In Starfield, you have a fucking a billion planets at your disposal, right? You got so many things. You can drop a fucking roll of tissue on this planet and go 3 star systems over, go do a whole quest line, come back, and that tissue's still gonna be where you left it at. That stuff that's dope and can kind of justify the loading screens. You cannot justify the loading screens in this game. And then they're not quick loading screens, which is mind-boggling. I'm like, yo, what's up with this velocity tech in my Series X? Is it not being put to use? It's trash, man. It's ass. It shouldn't have been a $70 game. Off rip. It shouldn't have been a $70 game. It's okay with pricing games in that AA budget. And people gonna be like, well, you can't price it in that budget if the budget for the game was so high. Where the fuck did the budget go? It didn't go into the writing. It didn't go into the voice actors. It didn't go into the story. It didn't go into the world building. What the fuck? I just don't understand it. You gonna have people getting mad about this video. You have people. I don't give a fuck. If you love Outer Worlds 2, This is not to tell you that you're wrong. This is not to downplay your experience. Listen to me when I clap. I hope you guys hear that. I'm happy you enjoyed the game. I'm happy. I'll never be mad at somebody for enjoying the game. Go look at my most popular reviews, Jedi Survivor and Starfield. I get nothing but hate from enjoying those games. Nothing but slander. I get called dick riders, shills, all type of things from simply enjoying Starfield. So no, I don't care if I get any backlash for this. I don't care if the backlash is good or negative. I'm gonna talk about this because one thing I want to start doing in 2026, right, is standing 10 toes down on my opinions. I'd be so worried about, hey, if I review this game in a negative light, the fanboys is gonna flood my mentions, they're gonna flood my comments, I'm gonna get labeled this, that, and the third. But fuck that, yo. I'm not sponsored. I'm not paid by any of these companies. I'm going to be honest. I spend my $30 a month on Game Pass, 15 before it was that, 20 after that, right? No problem. I spend money on these games. If Outer Worlds 2 was a banger, guess what I would have done? I would have double dipped. I would have beat it on my Series X. Then I would have bought it. I would have bought it on my PS5 Pro like I've done with plenty of Game Pass and Xbox games. I would have bought it on my PS5 Pro. I would have played it extremely different because one thing about me is I can role play in my mind. So if you give me a good game with a base for really good role playing, I can build upon that and have a really good time. Outer Worlds 2 is not it. So you wanted this game to be $80, ass. The world design is not an improvement from the first game, ass. On a technical level, is it pretty? Hell yeah. These clips I'm showing in the background look good. It's a pretty game. Until closer inspection, until you realize the world is dead. It don't feel lived in. It's no interactivity. And it's like, you can get away with this the first time, all right? You're just Obsidian by yourself. But now that you have the backing from Microsoft, I know them guys is giving you a good budget to work with. At some point, we have to hold some of these studios accountable too. And I'm only being hard on Obsidians because I know you guys are capable of better. You know, it's really sad that they said Avowed was a failure too, which, you know, I don't think it should have been. I think it probably should have won RPG of the year over Claire Expedition, because I think it is an actual better role-playing game than Claire Expedition, and I thought it was an underrated RPG. So I can be fair and honest. Like, I really thought Avowed was a decent game. It's far from perfect, but it's a really good RPG, and the Pillars of Eternity universe is really interesting. But when it comes to Outer Worlds 2, you know, they're saying it's not going to be an Outer Worlds 3, and I honestly could not care less. Man. You know, I'm usually positive in these reviews. I try not to rant. I try not to tear these games down, but this one is mid. I just wouldn't recommend it on any scale. You know, if you can pick it up for $20, $15, then for sure, go give it a try. But for the $70 asking price tag, no. Even for $40, $50, when you look around at the industry and see shit like Hellblade for $50, Claire Expedition for $50, you know, it gets kind of tough to recommend these games at these prices, man. I think a lot of people excuse prices from some of these games, especially from Microsoft, is because they're in Game Pass. So yeah, you know, if something is in Game Pass, I'm gonna play it. I'm already subbed. But if Game Pass didn't exist, ain't nobody about to go buy the fucking Outer Worlds 2, except for a handful of people. Ain't nobody about to buy Avowed, except for me and the other handful of people. You guys have got to start bringing your quality up to the standards of these asking prices. It's been your boy NextGenNero. I catch you guys. And hold up, before I even end the video, remember, this is a next-gen only game. This isn't on the Xbox One. This isn't on the PS4. We have cross-gen games that blows this shit out of the water on all fronts. Not just graphics, on all fronts. Come on, man. Tighten up, Obsidian. Bring us that New Vegas remake, man. Or just take a break. You guys did good with Grounded 2. Avowed, to me, was a really good game. I wouldn't mind Avowed 2. But even that was a walk back from what originally was shown. That game was shown to be really dark and gritty in the original trailer. That game ended up being probably the most colorful game I ever fucking played in this generation of gaming. That wasn't considered an indie game. So even then, it was a little false advertisement. But we got to hold these companies accountable. We have to hold these studios accountable. It's been your boy NextGenNero. Hit that like button. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.